Richard Vitale, my rank at the time when I left the USS America was a Lieutenant JG. And then I stayed with them, stayed with the ship another year or so, like it was another year or so. And in the interim, my wife, who's sitting here, she had 3 babies and 2 at the time. Look at that, she's telling me that. Yeah, it was 2, see, 2. And both times I was in Guantanamo Bay when she had the babies. And what was interesting on the ship, which a lot of ships did, especially carriers, the right forward antenna on the ship was always down. It was never vertical. And I always wondered why, and then I found out. I says, oh, the reason that is one of the guys, one of the officers on the ship is a ham radio operator. And he got permission to use that antenna. So when the antenna was raised, I mean, he was on the air. And what he would do, we'd come down to where his stateroom was, where he had his radio transmitter. It was nice, the electronic guys hooked it up. And we do a phone patch. He would call another ham radio operator in the States, and then they would hook it up and connect with their wives and stuff like that. And we go through a telephone, you know, connect to the ship through the ham radio operator. So I got to speak to my wife in the hospital and said, hey, we had a baby boy, when are you coming back? Then I said, we had a baby girl, when are you coming home? So it was really, really great. But there's some humorous stuff that's happened involving my wife coming on board.
My name is Sue Vitale. I'm Dick's wife. We've been married 53 years. This is funny. We met in 1961, December 31st, New Year's Eve, in Queens, New York. Now, how did we do that? I was from Rhode Island. I was going to college, but that summer I had worked as a camp counselor for the city of New York up in Peekskill, up in Camp Quantico. And I had made very good friends with some of the counselors, and one of them lives in Queens. And at Christmas time, they had a reunion of camp counselors and kids, so I went during my Christmas break to New York and met this gal. And I was supposed to stay for like 3 or 4 days, and I was just having such a great time. It's another day and another. It got to New Year's Eve, and I'm still there. And she said, well, you may as well stay New Year's Eve because we always have a big New Year's Eve party. So I said, okay. So I went out and bought this beautiful red dress, which I had intended to bring home to my sister because she plays piano in an orchestra, and I was going to have her wear that New Year's Eve. Well, I wore it New Year's Eve. And I stayed at my girlfriend's house, and I came down the stairs, and there he was. He was best friends with her brother. And they had known each other for many, many years. And
I was in flight school at the
Yeah.
time. I was at Liberty.
Yeah, we met that evening, and we spent the whole night talking to each other and finding out about each other, and we stayed up and we went to 6 o'clock mass that morning, and then a couple of hours he went back to his house and I stayed a little bit and then went back to school. I had to take the bus back to Providence and all of that, and went back to school. And he wrote me a letter, and I got it a couple of days later, and we wrote every single day after that. We never missed a day of writing to each other. We were married exactly 18 months later on June 1st, 1963. We saw each other only 12 times in that 18-month period. And we got married. We've been married 53 years. We now have 3 children and 5 grandsons.
Yep. And I used to, when I got my wings, I used to take an airplane and fly it to Quonset Point to visit her. You know, so I got to see her. That was one of the times that we physically got together. It was wild. I looked at her and I said, oh, she's a French girl. As you speak French, she started speaking French to me. I was like on the Addams Family. Oh boy.
Gomez, you know.
I started kissing her arm. And I just, will you knock it off? Oh, speak to me in French. And that was it. I was sold. And we've had fun ever since.
Yeah. And like you said, we had 2 children in the Navy. The first son was born while he was flying off the Roosevelt, I believe. He was in Guantanamo Bay, and he came home 9 days after that boy was born. And then the second child, our daughter, Christine, was born while he was again in the America, Guantanamo Bay, and he saw her after 5 weeks. But the interesting story we had is before she was born, I was about 7 months pregnant or so, and they, at the time when the ship was in the harbor, it wasn't at a pier, it was actually tethered out in the water, and we could, the officers' wives were allowed to come out and have dinner with the husbands when they had the duty. So I needed to talk to him. I guess it was income tax time, and I needed to get some signatures from him, and I thought, oh, I'll have dinner with him. So I was like 7 or 8 months pregnant, and I get on the Liberty boat, and here's all these little sailors all kind of slopped over. And here is this woman, you know, pregnant, going on the Liberty boat. So I go out to the ship, and of course it's choppy water, and we go to, you know, port side, and I'm supposed to get off, and Coxswain said, nah, ma'am, he says, I don't think this is a good idea. Let's go over to the other side. So we go all around the ship, the other side. Now this is worse. We're going back to the first step. So go back around again. And then he says, well, ma'am, he says, you're going to have to get off the, you know, the edge of the little Liberty boat, and you're going to have to jump onto this platform, which is maybe about 5 feet by 5 feet. And then you can go up the ladders, and you can go in the ship. So he had come down the ladder to meet me, and of course, you know, you got the Liberty boat doing this, you got the little platform doing this, and I'm supposed to get from here to here, you know. And so he says, I said, I'm not going to do this. He says, when I say jump, jump. So I'm standing on the little gunwale whale thing, and then he says, I jumped onto the platform, and that was okay, didn't fall in. And got up, and we had dinner, everything's fine, got off the boat, went back home, everything's fine. The next day, I get a phone call from Courtney, the Exo's wife. She calls me, she says, I understand you had dinner on board with Dick last night. And I said, yes, ma'am, we did. She said, don't ever do that again. She says, you're pregnant. You could have fallen in the water. Are you crazy? So consequently, I never had dinner again with Dick on board ship. But I did
Well, it was on the pier, it was right, not on Anchorage.
But that's
What
my
is the
story.
worst thing that happened?
The ham was great. That helped because I was in the hospital and I got to speak with him.
Even in
And
the future.
yeah, and let him
Even
know,
after
because
that.
I mean, this is before cell phones. I mean, there was no communication whatsoever. So the ham really helped to communicate with each other. And then when they were in Gitmo, there were letters that did come back. But of course, it took time, you know, to come back and find out what was going on. But those ham conversations were like gold for us, you know. When you don't have it and you get to talk to each other, you really appreciate it, you know. It was great. We had an apartment. We were in Chesapeake. We had a nice apartment, Marina Point Apartments, and there were a number of us who were there, a number of families that were there. And I'll tell you, the wives group was fabulous, because when the guys were away, the girls took care of each other. They were absolutely wonderful. We were a lot of very young wives, 22, 23, 24-year-old wives. And so the older girls, they were 35, 36, you know, they took care of us young gals, you know, and helped us, and, you know, helped us get over the jitters of husband's not home tonight, you know, that kind of thing. And just help us to live life. You know, we got together, we would have lunch together, or, you know, go to a movie or whatever, or help each other babysitting. You know, if someone needed to go shopping and they had children, we'd babysit for each other. I mean, it was a real wives community. You know, we really took care of each other, and I'm very grateful for that. We still have friends that we've kept up with over 50 years that we still are in communication with, because there was that bond. I mean, I know the guys, the shipmates had that bond. Well, the gals had that bond too.